In announcing the new rates today, the NIB General Manager, Mr Cole Rogers, said subscribers will now pay $7.50 a week less for above basic cover than they did before. However, this of course does not count the 1% levy on income that every wage earner will pay towards the federal Medicare scheme. NIB itself will operate cash payments agencies for Medicare at 22 of its branches. Mr Rogers said the $6.70 a week rate was that originally submitted to the government for approval in December. He said it was responsibly determined and considered viable with regard to the maintenance of proper levels of reserves and provisions so as to ensure stability.
NIB has a very important role to play. We will be providing a range of benefits for other health services that are not covered by Medicare, such as dental and optical and a whole range of those benefits. And in addition, of course, we will be providing hospital insurance, and most people will require, some say, in the event of unexpected illness, regarding the doctor who treats them. And also, of course, with the pressures on public hospitals, they will want the option of both public hospital with choice of doctor and private hospital care.
The incident happened at about 11 o'clock this morning. 4 coal wagons spilled their loads over 4 lines, making it initially impossible for any train to make its way through the twisted rubble. The main clean-up was completed by 3:30 this afternoon, using a front-end loader to clear the spilled coal. A spokesman from the SRA says there were only minimal delays to the Northern Tablelands Express, and that local train passengers to Talara were carried on from Maitland in buses and taxis. The coal train from the Newdale Junction was en route to Port Waratah and was crossing the main Northern Line when the derailment occurred. At this stage, it's not known what caused the crash. Modified uniforms of leather pants and boots to better suit the conditions under which they work. The bikes are 500 XL to give the necessary speed to chase an assailant when necessary. During the summer months, the officers patrol every day, checking motorists who are breaching the Motor Traffic Act and Ordinance 48, which governs what can and can't be done on public reserves. One of the major problems the officers find is that unless an area is adequately signposted, it's very difficult to sanction a driver or rider for breaking the rules. And those from outside the region can't be blamed for not knowing the local regulations. The council is responsible for signposting. Senior Constable Robert Barrett says it's important to use discretion and common sense in situations where no harm's being done.
Most of the persons which utilise the beach area in vehicles are not doing anyone any harm. They've been coming to the beaches as long as 20, 30 years ago. The average person's a fisherman, brings the family down, he's doing the fishing, the family's down bathing, the kids are having a picnic. They're not coming down into the area which is set aside for bathers or the surf riders or the surf ski users. They're picking an area far away from the crowd themselves. Occasionally you do get the person who will come into the main area, but again, if you sit back and watch that person, he's using a lot of common sense.
This year, more than 3,500 students will study full-time at Newcastle University. It is not a large university compared to ones in Sydney, but it nevertheless offers a variety of study options. Courses are offered in 8 faculties. They are medicine, arts, science, engineering, architecture, economics, mathematics and education. Students can take courses at the diploma through to the doctorate level. The majority of university students come straight from high school. Their eligibility for entry, therefore, is determined by their results in the higher school certificate examinations.
We don't have quotas as the city universities do, except in medicine and architecture and computer engineering, so that in all the other areas, in the arts faculty, science, economics and commerce, they normally wait for their school certificate results and then finalise their enrolment.
How well do they have to do in the higher school certificate?
Well, because of the lack of quotas, we're able to take more students than the city universities. The level of school performance in terms of an actual mark varies from year to year. We take a constant percentage of those that are graduating. Over half of those who get their higher school certificate can come to the university.
How do students who don't have a higher school certificate apply for entry?
We do have a mature age entry scheme. This is a very interesting and I think very helpful way of allowing someone a second chance to get a degree and to undertake some professional work. The mature age scheme operates from the age of 21 upwards, so there's a gap between the age at which someone probably left school and they can come to try themselves out. Our Department of Community Programs offers courses of a university sort for anyone to come and try and do a couple of those. If they're successful, then they can apply to be formally enrolled.
Many people are frightened away from a university education because they harbour a belief that job prospects for graduates are grim. But this is not so. About 1,000 students graduate from the University of Newcastle each year. Of those, a significant number opt to continue studying. But for the ones that do want to work, the present signs are encouraging.
As a global figure, about 90% of the graduates in almost any subject have got a full-time job by, say, the end of April the following year. These statistics are available from a body called the Graduate Careers Council of Australia. And of course, whereas in medicine it's 100% have jobs, in some of the other areas it's not as high as that. But surprisingly, in terms of community perceptions of the ease of getting a job, university graduates do very well when it comes to looking for jobs.
Can you see those conditions changing much in the future?
Well, I would just have to advise any young person who is contemplating coming to university not to give up their chance. The story of employment these days is higher and higher qualifications. The role of computers is penetrating almost every sort of employment, and this is reflected now in the courses and training throughout the university's work. And I just think they're disadvantaging their whole lives by not taking any opportunity they have.
Every course run by the Newcastle College of Advanced Education is vocationally orientated. Students are trained for a specific job or type of job. An applicant's suitability for a particular area of study is determined by his or her higher school certificate results. However, in special cases such as physical education and music, applicants are called for an interview. All mature age students are interviewed and are also required to take an intelligence test. Many who have applied for admission to the college this year will face disappointment. The competition is fierce for places in most courses because of a reduction in student numbers. However, the college soon...
The Tertiary Education Commission reduced our funds last year and this year. The Labour government, although they prevented the amalgamation, was not able to give money to supplement both the university and ourselves. Therefore, we'll be cutting back by about 200 students this year.
In which courses will the competition be most fierce?
Teacher education, we've cut back substantially in primary education. We've cut back entirely in the Associate Diploma in Arts and Crafts. We've tried as far as possible to spread the misery evenly.
Today,
Many people think of colleges of advanced education as places where teachers are trained. That is only partly true. This year at Newcastle CAE, 68% of the student body will train as teachers. 17% will take visual and performing arts courses, and the rest will be divided between administration and technology and paramedical and welfare studies.
When I first came to this college, we had a small art school, and that was just about the extent of the diversification. For example, this year we'll be offering courses in medical radiography, police studies, social welfare, nursing administration, nurse-teacher education, multicultural studies. Now, none of those courses were in existence in 1978. Nationally, the percentage of the monies devoted to teacher education has decreased over the last 3 or 4 years. Therefore, the numbers doing teacher education courses has decreased. At the same time, the amount of money, the number of students doing post-basic courses has increased. That again has magnified the decrease in basic teacher education numbers. Now, the fear now of a number of persons is we've gone too far, and that if we're not careful, by 1988 there will be again a shortage of teachers.
One question most potential students are keen to hear the answer to is what their job prospects will be like on graduation. Not many are prepared to put 3 or more years into study to end up on the dole.
An intelligent, articulate, hard-working person somehow or other will get a job somewhere doing what they wish. Now, as far as primary teachers are concerned, if they want to just sit and wait and say we're waiting for a full-time job with the New South Wales Department, they might sit and wait 6 or 7 years. But I've spoken recently to a number of students who've gone to Queensland, gone to the education officers and said, I'm trained. Will you employ me? The next question is, will you serve anywhere in Queensland? The answer is yes. They're signed on and they're off to some Queensland country town as a primary teacher.
After running off the wet road, the woman's car careered along the footpath before slamming into a power pole. The impact brought down live power lines, and the woman driver, who was the only occupant of the car, was trapped inside until emergency crews turned off power to the immediate area. Dudley Road was partially blocked to traffic for about half an hour. Ambulance took the woman driver, who suffered only a minor neck injury, to Belmont Hospital.
The grant for work on the recreation area was announced yesterday by the federal member for Shortland, Mr Peter Morris, and the state member for Swansea, Mr Don Bowman. The money will be made available to the National Parks and Wildlife Service, which will be responsible for coordinating all work. Work undertaken will include landscaping, the eradication of noxious weeds, improvements to beaches and the restoration of tracks. The project will provide jobs for at least 6 people.
National champions.
Show President Mr McGeechy says that since the show went professional 5 years ago, sponsorship has tripled, and this year the show has secured $98,000 from a wide range of sponsors, from airlines to industry.
We've always had a theme that's connected with the Hunter Valley. It's more or less saying, well, we're great in the Hunter Valley. This year we're bringing all the past international and national champions in every sporting code that emanated from the Hunter region. Now, without sponsorship, this could not be achieved.
But what will make this year's show different to any other is a grand parade saluting the champions of hunter sport. It will be the first time our sporting greats have been recognised by the city in such a way. And the names go back years.
I think some of the outstanding names are people like Clive Churchill, who was a great rugby league player, known as the Little Master, who left Newcastle in the late 1940s and became a legend around the league world. Bob Newbigin, who was one of Australia's greatest surf swimmers, who's coming back from Western Australia to be here. There are people like Phil Hawthorne, who was a great rugby union player and also captain Australian Rugby League. There's a whole host, some wonderful names that have not only left their mark on sport here, but elsewhere in Australia and internationally.
It has taken months to track these people down, and Mr Fordham says that there'll be 200 prominent hunter sportsmen past and present in the parade on show Saturday. The 1984 Newcastle show gets underway on February the 22nd and continues until the 26th.
Tabitha is looking to swim in the 800 metres freestyle in Los Angeles. Recently she won the state title over that distance, as well as the 400 metres and 1500 metres. Training as usual today at the junction for Tabitha under coach Eric Arnold, who says she's almost a certainty for Olympic selection. Many others who have followed the 14-year-old's swimming career over the years are also looking forward to her performances at the Olympics.
Tabitha, already there seems to be a fair bit of pressure on you. Most people are expecting you to make it to Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, my coach thinks I can make it, and my parents think I can make it, so hopefully I will.
And what's it going to mean for 14-year-old Tabitha to make it to Los Angeles and represent Australia?
Oh, I don't know. It's a real big thing for me. I'll be pleased if I do make it.
And do you feel in your own mind that you will be competitive once you get there?
Oh, yeah, I should be.
Up amongst the medals, perhaps, with the East Germans and the Russians, probably the main competition?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be up amongst the medals, but hopefully I'll give it a try.
About 60 people attended last night's meeting held at the Newcastle Rugby Club. The guest speaker was Professor Alan Williams, a lecturer in commerce at Newcastle University. The Australian Small Business Association was set up primarily to lobby the government on behalf of small business owners. In 1984, it will fight two major campaigns.
Nationally, the association is looking at areas such as the taxation field and the effect that it has on small business. We're also looking at the question of the right of an employer to enter into a voluntary contract with his employee, that is to not be subject to the boundaries at the present time of the arbitration system and the industrial system.
How do you think a change like that would aid the small businessman?
Well, the idea is that the industrial system as it is at the moment doesn't entirely suit a small businessman when he may have 1, 2 or 3 employees. He's not in a situation to, in all circumstances, to be bound by industrial awards.
Church throughout the world gather each year on the 19th of January to celebrate the christening of Jesus. In Macedonia, the boys must endure freezing conditions for the ceremony, but in Australia, the task is a little easier to bear. During the ceremony, the priest casts a crucifix into the water, and the boys must dive in and retrieve it. It's a symbol of manhood and a guarantee of good luck for the coming year for the lucky boy who finds the crucifix. After a lot of splashing, Vlado Televeski of Waratah West came to the surface with the lid-covered crucifix.
There will not be a full-scale Matara Spring Festival this year. The committee members believe a biannual event would prove more successful and would alleviate the problem of funding shortages. However, it is possible that in between the large festivals there will be a mini Matara. Organisers are keen to retain the open-air art show and the poetry and concerto competitions as yearly events. The Matara Committee is considering the formation of a public company guarantee. Some committee members feel it would help them with fundraising and would streamline the administration of the festival. A vote was not taken on that issue last night because of a lack of numbers and uncertainty over the costs involved with forming a company. It will be discussed again at the next committee meeting.